I'll call the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is an open meeting of the Seward, Nebraska governing body. The city of Seward abides by the Nebraska Open Meetings Act in conducting business. A copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act is displayed on the north wall of this meeting room facility as required. Disclosure on meeting recording processes is posted in the meeting room. Any citizen may address the council regarding items included on the meeting agenda and are asked to complete and submit a speaker card to the clerk prior to the meeting. The mayor will call speakers to the podium when the item is being considered. Presenters shall approach the podium, state their name and address for the clerk's record, and are asked to limit remarks to 5 minutes. All remarks shall be directed to the mayor, who shall determine by whom any appropriate response shall be made. The city of Seward reserves the right to adjust the order of items on this agenda if necessary, and may elect to take action on any of the items listed. Please call the roll.
Kaler.
Here.
Coltman.
Here.
Streisand.
Here.
Tanyas.
Here.
Singleton.
Here.
Worgen.
Here.
Miller.
Here.
Franciscato.
Here.
We have a quorum present.
All right, thank you, Derek. This evening's consent agenda consists of the first 7 items on the agenda.
I'll move the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Franciscato, Kaler, Tanyas, Coltman, Miller, Singleton, Streisand, Worgen, 8-0.
All right. First, under public hearings, we have a consideration of an ordinance to vacate the existing north-south alley line between 6th and 7th Streets from Bradford Street to Jackson Avenue. Tim, welcome.
Evening, council, mayor, others. We were approached by Rich Goki of Fastmart. He's wanting to repave his north parking lot. In doing so, he asked that the city repair the alley that goes north-south to the east of the daycare, to the west of his parking lot. It joins his parking lot. I talked to Bob Meyer. He wasn't even aware there was an alley still existed there. We've never maintained it. We've never had anything to do with it. We do have current utilities there, both sewer and electric. We would retain easement for that in vacating it. In talking to Rich, we had some concerns with emergency egress out of the daycare and walking traffic there. His intent is to stripe it such and continue to keep that as a walking path from the Civic Center to Fastmart. When the Civic Center's in play, he does a great deal of business there, which takes care of our egress problem with the daycare. They can dump right out into that walking path. We would retain ownership of it until the vacate is complete, at which time we will work with City Attorney Hofsteiner's office and put together some kind of agreement, conveyance agreement, to pass ownership over to Rich, at which time he will gladly repair that alley portion and the driveway at his expense. Planning Commission recommended the vacate 7-0.
Thanks, Tim. Any questions or comments from the council? It is a public hearing, so I'll open up the public comment portion of the public hearing. If anyone from the public wishes to speak on this item, please come forward at this time. One at a time, orderly fashion. Seeing no one wishing to comment, I'll close the public comment portion of the public hearing, return to the council for any further discussion. Or to ask someone to introduce the ordinance.
I'll introduce the ordinance.
All right. An ordinance providing for the closing and vacating of all of the north-south alley line between the east line of lots 4, 5, and 6, and the west line of lots 1, 2, 3, block 38, Cloyd's addition, City of Seward, Seward County, Nebraska, the same being a partially established and platted alley within the city, to provide for an effective date hereof, and ordering the publication of the ordinance in pamphlet form. The ordinance has been read by title and is designated as ordinance number 2025-1, and the title is hereby approved. I need a motion to dispense with statutory rule.
I so move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, is there any further discussion? Seeing none. Please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Francis Scotto, Kaler, Tanius, Colterman, Miller, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 8-0.
This is ordinance number 2025-1. Would anyone like to move that this ordinance be passed and adopted as read?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question is, shall ordinance number 2025-1 be finally passed and adopted? Please register your vote. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Francis Scotto, Kaler, Tanius, Colterman, Miller, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 8-0.
Alright, thank you. Item 2 is also a public hearing. Consideration of an ordinance rezoning property identified as Lot 1, WCP addition from AG Agricultural District to I2 General Industrial District. Welcome back, Tim.
Thank you. We were approached by Dustin Bloomquist and Rick Egner of Lincoln. They own a commercial cabinet shop there. Their wish is to move their business to Seward. They contacted Arthur Knox and came up with this piece of property. It was, a minor plat was done for the lot to separate it. This is right to the east or west of the current Summit contracting that's out there. So they parceled off a piece of land. Planning Commission approved that, minor plat 7-0. The I-2 districting is contiguous to what's already out there. Their cabinet shop fits into the permitted uses for I-2. With that, Planning Commission recommended 7-0 to go ahead and rezone it as I-2. And by the way, Dustin and Rick are present if anybody has any questions for them.
Alright, wonderful. First of all, any questions or comments from the council? This is a public hearing, so I'll open up the public comment portion of the public hearing. If anyone from the public wishes to speak at this time, please come forward and do so. Welcome.
I'll say much other than just we're excited for the opportunity to move out here. We think the community will be a great fit for our business, so hope you guys will consider having us.
Could you state your name and address?
Dustin Bloomquist, 1427 West Silverado Drive, Lincoln, Nebraska.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Rick Egner. We do appreciate the opportunity to come to Seward. I live in Friend, he lives in Fallbrook in Lincoln. It's a good opportunity for us to be kind of centered in between, and we always liked the city of Seward, and we were discussing with Ryan Seaman over at Cattle Bank. We've been doing a lot of work over there at their bank, and we built a relationship with him. And he told us, he said, why don't you guys think about coming on out to Seward? So we come out here and started looking around, and we were excited about it. So we loved the opportunity to be able to come here. So.
Great. Alright, thank you. Any other? Yes, Jonathan? Didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah.
That was close. Oh.
Jonathan Jenk with the Chamber of Commerce. Working with Dustin and Rick, they're an excellent business. We're excited to welcome them here. Just a quick reminder around the Knox sort of addition. It's actually a master plan site. So what they're proposing to build is exactly what has been planned there as we continue to develop west of Tenneco. So I think this is a great fit, and it'll be a great addition to our business community. Appreciate your consideration and support.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thanks.
Anyone else from the public wish to comment? Seeing no one else, I will close the public comment portion of the public hearing and return to the council for any questions or comments. I'd be asking someone to introduce the ordinance.
I'll introduce the ordinance.
Alright, an ordinance to amend the official zoning map of the city of Seward, Nebraska to rezone certain property within the extraterritorial jurisdiction of the city of Seward, Nebraska, now zoned AG Agricultural District to I2 General Industrial District, specifically tracts of land north of Walker Road and east of 194th Road, to describe the property rezoned, to provide for publication of this ordinance in pamphlet form, to provide for a time when this ordinance shall take effect. The ordinance has been read by title and is designated as ordinance number 2025-2, and the title is hereby approved. I need a motion to dispense with statutory rule.
So,
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the vote.
Voting in favor, Franciscato, Kaler, Tanya, Colterman, Miller, Singleton, Strice, and Morgan, 8-0.
Alright, this is ordinance number 2025-2. Would anyone like to move that this ordinance be passed and adopted as read?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question is, shall ordinance number 2025-2 be finally passed and adopted? Please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Franciscato, Kaler, Tanya, Colterman, Miller, Singleton, Strice, and Morgan, 8-0.
Alright, thank you, and welcome. Next, we have item number 3, also a public hearing, consideration of a voluntary annexation request, first reading for Lot 1, WCP Edition. Tim?
Same lot, sits outside the corporate limits of the city of Seward. With that, Arthur Knox has provided you with a letter requesting voluntary annexation so that the zoning is within our city limits. And again, recommended by Planning Commission 7-0.
Alright, great, thanks. Any questions or comments from the council? Again, this is a public hearing, so we'll open up the public comment portion of the public hearing. Anyone from the public wish to comment on this item, please come forward at this time. Seeing no one wishing to comment, I will close the public comment portion of the public hearing and return to the council for any further discussion, or if someone would like to introduce the ordinance.
I'll introduce the ordinance.
The ordinance has been introduced. One moment here, I got ahead of myself. Let me read this first. An ordinance declaring the annexation of certain contiguous and adjacent tracts of land, urban and suburban in character, more specifically Lot 1, WCP addition to the city of Seward, to the corporate limits of the city of Seward, Nebraska, and extending the limits thereof accordingly, to describe the real estate to be annexed and its boundaries, to provide for publication of this ordinance in pamphlet form, to provide for a time when this ordinance shall take effect. I believe this is just the first reading. Is there anything else we need to do with that? Okay. So with that, are we good, Tim?
We're good?
Alright, thank you. So next, administrative items, we have consideration of a resolution to amend golf fees effective for 2025 season.
We have the fees, and we have Bob Core here, Public Properties Director as well. We can both kind of chat through this one. Annually or every other year, Cody, our golf superintendent, does a review of different golf fees of like facilities and tries to make sure that we're keeping pace while also looking at our revenue projections and budgets. And so Cody undertook that again this year. And prepared a recommendation that ultimately went to the Parks and Rec Committee. Bob and his staff attended that, along with I think some of our council members, maybe Councilmember Streisand was there as well. So they had a discussion about the fees. I believe it was unanimously approved after discussion to recommend these fees. The rate comparison is also included in there. Obviously, you can see different ones for whether it's a single year-long pass versus the green fee for a 9-hole or 18 holes. At different facilities varies, but we felt like the observations that Cody presented were in order and his suggestions. The other thing I would note, when was the last time these ones were adjusted, Bob?
It was in 2023, so it's been a couple of years.
Yep. So just even keeping up with inflation, these wouldn't technically even cover that in regards to kind of what we're looking at. So, but we can answer any questions you have. Cody and Dan and the staff out there continue to do a great job. We just had our golf meeting with Bob and Adam and everybody else on the crew to get ready to schedule out our year. Look at projects. We're right in the middle of a project to redo the pond by hole number 5. That's gone really well after Dan learned a lot and Bob and the team from the professional group that we had come in and do it before. They were basically able to determine for a cheaper cost. They can do it themselves now that they know exactly how the lay of the land is and what you need and how you perform that and what time zones. So, yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Anything else to add to that, Bob?
I don't think, Cody was looking at the credit card. Right now, we don't charge a percentage for using a credit card use, so we eat that cost. I know we charge a fee, for our rec programs, and so we were looking at, doing something, a percentage for that when they come out and pay, especially if they pay their, family membership. That's a big chunk of change that we eat that cost of that credit card. So he was looking at a 2 or 3% charge to that, to offset that cost. That's kind of what the average is around that 2 to 3. I think with, Tim and is what he charges for permits and stuff like that, talking with them and stuff, was around that 3%. Unless you guys have a better percentage or anything, that's kind of what it was around that 3%, if, you guys are fine with that.
Do we know what that percent is, or does it vary by card?
It varies by card, we asked.
Yes.
Okay.
But again, it's kind of the goal of the council and administration to have the golf fund itself. And we've done a really good job, other than probably the big capital projects, which I think we'll see shave off as Dan continues to kind of get the course in shape, and we'll probably do our clubhouse final renovations. We were just out there the other day, and they had just redone all the flooring on the first floor, which is nice, except those rolly chairs just go flying, just flying. So we're going to have to do some different chairs up there a little bit.
Gotta hang on to it when you sit down.
Otherwise it's gone. But as we continue to finish up those renovations, large scale projects, the golf course is gonna be sitting in good shape to basically be self-funded, which is kind of the hope that when you guys undertook this in, quite a few years ago to try and get to, so.
That was the goal. We never had illusions of grandeur about, printing money out there. The goal was simply to have a golf course in the community that wasn't a financial burden on the community, and the goal was just to break even, and I think, like to Greg's point, if we don't have big capital projects, we basically come out ahead a little bit, and that was always the goal. So we sold it as what we thought it would be, and fortunately we've been able to get there with the work of Bob and all the guys out there. So they've done a great job, and you can just tell by the amount of greens fees and people that are coming in from outside of Seward that it's becoming much more of the public community course we had hoped for it. And you need to be in order. For us it's quantity. You gotta be able to be handled people coming in because that's where you sustain it. It's hard if you just rely on local people for a course like that.
Speaking of Bob's thing that you brought up, I note that it's not in there, but it may be a recommended amendment if we do want to add that credit card fee. If somebody wants to introduce that, if you're interested in that, and set a percentage, so that Cody has a specific authorization to do that.
I'd make a motion
To amend the resolution.
Have we introduced the resolution?
Not yet, but I don't think you want to amend the resolution before we introduce the resolution,
Or after.
or after?
Would say you can introduce it and then amend it
Okay.
after you introduce it.
So we'll sit tight, hold that thought, Matt.
We know
It's a
who's
good
gonna,
one.
we
It's
know
a
who's
good one.
gonna do that then.
There you go.
Tatum, we're looking at you. What? Any other questions for Bob, or are we comfortable with what's in this resolution for fees? With that, then I'd ask someone to introduce the resolution.
I will introduce the resolution. And then someone was gonna amend it.
I'd like to amend the resolution.
Well, give me 1 second here.
Well, you have to read it first.
I got instructions, all right? Resolution has been introduced and designated as resolution number 2025-2.
Now you would take a motion.
Is there a motion to amend?
I'd make a motion to amend the resolution to allow for a percentage
Do you set number?
increase,
I would set it at 3.
3% increase when paying.
We have a motion to amend the resolution to a 3% fee for credit card transactions. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. you wanna vote on that, I assume to add it in first, right? So please Reg,
You can vote on it, as a whole.
as amended?
Yep.
Okay, so resolution as,
I think you have to vote on the amendment,
Right,
right, Carl?
yes.
Yeah, you have to vote on the amendment,
okay,
cause if Jessica doesn't want it, she introduced it without it, like,
Fair.
you have to vote on the
It's
amendment.
friendly amendment.
okay, so we have a motion to amend the resolution, it was seconded, correct?
Yes.
Alright. So would anyone like to move this resolution to be passed as amended?
No.
You're looking for a vote
No,
on
you
the
You
need
gotta vote on the
Now
amendment.
we're gonna vote on
Agreed.
the
Register your votes.
Then you can
There you
Register
go.
your votes.
We're voting on
Display
supporting.
the votes.
The
voting,
amendment.
voting on the amendment 3%
To-
for
to add
credit
it.
card fee, yeah.
This is what happens when we get so many lawyers in one room.
Wait, that's it out loud?
Internal monologue, internal monologue.
Voting in favor of the amended resolution, Francis Scott, Kaler, Tanya Coltrane Miller, Singleton, Strice, and Ward 8-0.
So the resolution has been introduced and designated as resolution number 2025-2. Would anyone like to move this resolution as amended and passed, and be passed and adopted?
Second.
Your motion in a second, please register your votes. Please spend the votes.
Voting in favor, Francis Scott, Kaler, Tanya Coltrane Miller, Singleton, Strice, and Ward 8-0.
Alright, thank you. Let's see if we can make the next one just as complicated. Thanks, Bob. He's just like, I'm out of here. They're out of here. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Good to see you. Alright.
Is it America?
That's my neighbors. Who steals that? Next door neighbor.
I mean,
Alright, item number
at least we
2.
tried to make it fun for them.
Consideration and approval of
They're
bid
fun guys.
documents for the furnishing of an industrial substation transformer and authorization for the city to seek bids. Mr. Holstein, welcome. This sounds expensive.
Jared Lynch, I'm the city electric line crew chief. Existing substation at the rail campus is a 10 MVA transformer, and it's currently peaking about 5 MVA. With the expected growth out there is about 6.5 MVA on the campus. And sites require an upgrade to power those up and create some redundancy if we have to shut down the substation for maintenance, or if we have an outage situation, we can back up that current load. Proposed design to mirror the existing substation, the site to the south, which involves adding a new 10 MVA, 34.5 kV to 12.5 kV transformer. And also the design will be adding 4 new reclosers, 2 new bay recloser structures, 1 12 kV switch structure, 4 pad mount switches, 1 additional structure for the bus. Larry and I met and reviewed the proposal with Olson's, reviewed the plans, drawing specs, the contract, and we're good with the bid package that's in front of you.
Alright, thanks. Any questions or comments for Jared?
I would just note, we did this in 2018 with the original first rail campus substation, and costs have significantly increased since 2018. So it's a pretty significant chunk of change. I think there's a potential estimate of up to 3 million plus for this one. I think we were closer to just north of 2 on the last one, with all costs included. So that's a 50% increase. So significant but needed for a growing community of our size for exactly the reasons that Jared talked about.
Any questions or comments from the council? This just requires a simple motion.
Move to approve the bid documents for city to seek bids.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Francis Scott, Kaler, Tanya Coltrane Miller, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 8-0.
Item 3, consideration of an ordinance to amend the comprehensive pay plan, creating the facility director, wellness center lead attendant, wellness center attendant, child watch attendant, and wellness lifeguard positions. Greg?
Yes, and Joel's here as well, who's also involved in this discussion. These positions were planned, we're just kind of executing on the next step. I believe the positions and the fees were kind of designed based off of taking a look at predominantly Beatrice, but other local and similar facilities. And so the child watch attendant obviously will be those assisting the child watch director and overseeing children in that program for a few hours a day, as again, this is the timed portion of it, where you can bring in small children and they'll sit in there and play games and toys and watch TV and do other activities in the child watch. Facilities director will be the person that oversees the facility. It's a full-time position. Be in charge of the HVAC systems, the plumbing, learn to be certified in pool operations and all the mechanicals of the pool. They'll also be the ones predominantly setting up and tearing down for lots of the activities, whether we have volleyball going on, pickleball. They'll learn maintenance of our gym equipment, our treadmills and bikes and all those other elements are involved in it. They'll learn the IT system, and so just kind of oversee the general maintenance of the facility, and then probably work in coordination with Bob's crew on the outdoor maintenance stuff. So they'll predominantly help with that as well, and kind of float. Lifeguard, standard lifeguarding position. Right now we have that tagged at the same level that we have the summer lifeguards at. That may change throughout. We'll have more of a deep dive discussion. I met with Jerry Pigsley today, our labor attorney. One of the things we're trying to sort out, specific issue, is right now we qualify for summer seasonals for all of our lifeguards. It's under the Fair Labor Standards Act, FLSA. We need to go through a test and kind of make sure to see what we can do, because if you'll note, some of those wages on there with the lifeguards and some of our swim aids we use in the summer, we're not subject to the state's minimum wage requirements for those seasonals and also overtime hours. Well, the thing that would change for lifeguards is, I'm assuming some of those summer lifeguards are going to be lifeguards at the wellness center. So now they're not working seasonally, they're working year round for us. Minimal hours possibly, but still permanent employment in a part-time basis. What does that change? What is the test for that to balance? And so I met with Jerry today, he set some things on. We'll fill them in and then circle back to them to understand that. That may push different changes in the wages and how Joel and Adam, working with their swim managers, kind of coordinate that. We may also want to incentivize that if we think it's harder to get the outdoor ones in the summer, we may want to pay them a little bit more. And the wellness centers ones, maybe that's an easier one to fill, so we don't, kind of where the market determines us. So there might be some recommendations and changes, but for now we just want to make sure we get these in place, because this place is going to open soon. We got to have a position and a job description to at least get some people in there to operate day to day as we start off. So that's the lifeguards, and then the wellness center attendants and lead attendants. Basically the attendants are the ones overseeing the building and greeting you as you come in at the front desk, checking you in, answering questions, getting you equipment or forms or whatever else. Lead attendants would be doing the same things, but on top of that, they would be the ones that help open the facility in the morning. If we have early morning hours, 5, 6 o'clock for people to come in and work out and lift. And then also late night hours when we close down after activities during the week, which we wouldn't maybe have a manager on duty for some of those. The lead attendants would help just secure the building, make sure it's clear, and shut it down for the night or open it. So a little bit more responsibility in regards to the lead attendants. So that's kind of the breakdown. Joel, did I miss anything?
No.
Derek, did I miss anything?
No, sir.
I think that's it.
All right, any questions or comments for Greg or Joel? It is an ordinance, so that's going to introduce the ordinance if you're ready.
I'll introduce the ordinance.
All right. An ordinance to provide for annual classification of officers and employees of the city of Seward, Nebraska, to create the child watch attendant, facility director, wellness lifeguard, wellness center lead attendant, and wellness center attendant positions, to provide for longevity pay and payment of part-time employees, to provide for a date such classification and pay ranges of compensation shall become effective, to provide for publication in pamphlet form, to provide for a time when this ordinance shall take effect. The ordinance has been read by title and is designated as ordinance number 2025-4, and the title is hereby approved. I need a motion to dispense with statutory rule.
Also move.
A motion and a second, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Francis Scotto, Kaler, Tanya Coltrane Miller, Singleton, Strice, and Morgan, 8-0.
Again, this is ordinance number 2025-4. Would anyone like to move that this ordinance be passed and adopted as read?
So moved.
A motion and a second, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question is, shall ordinance number 2025-4 be finally passed and adopted? Please register your vote. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Francis Scotto, Kaler, Tanya Coltrane Miller, Singleton, Strice, and Morgan, 8-0.
This is the last ordinance for this evening, so I need one final motion to make all the ordinances a part of the permanent record.
So moved. Second.
A motion and a second, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Francis Scotto, Kaler, Tanya Coltrane Miller, Singleton, Strice, and Morgan, 8-0.
Alright, thank you. Item number 4, consideration of a resolution to revise the city's purchasing policy. Greg.
Yeah, kudos to, City Clerk Bargeman. This, redo of the most recent version of this was 2012, 5 years before I ever started working here. And so we felt it was appropriate in time to redo and take a look at our purchasing policy, make sure it was matching up to our expectations, statutory and code requirements, and also some comments and other things that we received in a recent kind of tabletop audit of our FEMA, basically our emergency files from when we had the flood in 2019. It's all the projects we undertook during that to clean up debris, fix the farm levee, things like that. We got a site visit from consultants that worked with FEMA and NEMA to look through our files, and one of the things they pointed out in reviewing all of our documentation was that our purchasing policy was not up to snuff in regards to, specifically, it was our commitment to competitive, open, and fair competition, which you would note in section 2 here. So now we have that very explicitly written in here exactly how they wanted, but we felt like it was an appropriate time with that comment to just update that. And so we added definitions. One of the biggest ones is just making sure that we understood the difference between a quote and a bid. Again, a quote is just kind of an informal but documented item that comes in, certain thresholds, you get 3 of them, and then you pick the lowest one within reason and move on. A public bid is a process with notice, listings online, very specific opening of those in a public place, open, with a lot of detail to it that we standardly operate under. And so we wanted to make sure that was detailed out. And then requests for proposals and requests for qualifications. Proposals, again, predominantly is a bid sort of situation, where qualifications, when we're hiring professional services such as, say, BVH to do our wellness center, we would do an RFQ. We'd interview them based on prior projects and a questionnaire that we would then score and then select the best professional services. So we went through that. The other big one that's probably important to this is the thresholds. So for the most part, we have informal quotations. So this means that you don't even need it in writing for a lot of standard supplies and things. That's under $2,500 in total. We would get written quotations between $2,500 and $30,000. $30,000 has kind of always been our threshold, but we denoted that. And then for formal public bids, that's anything over $30,000. We also added in the statutorily allowed threshold for electric department procurement. Since we have sales that exceed on an annual basis $10 million, that $30,000 threshold for public bid actually moves up to $120,000 for us. So again, we had Jared in here in the electric department, and you can see that a lot of the stuff that they're buying on a large basis, far more expensive than 30. They could buy a pretty standard piece of equipment at this point that they get on a pretty regular basis and spend $30,000. And so the statutes give a little bit more room on the electric side. Obviously, and also with inflation, that's pushed pretty hard. Other than that, kind of standard operating procedures, we do note that professional services, while not required, can seek RFQs or RFPs, but sometimes just to keep projects moving and stuff, we try to just spread them around amongst our known vendor list. So for instance, we would use JEO and Shimmer and Olson and SEH and just kind of see who has the capacity and availability. We may ask them what they think it costs. We may just say, you know, we know that Olson does great work for us on electric, and JEO's done a lot of great street work for us lately, and Shimmer's done water, and SEH has done, you know, rail campus and street and road design for us, or the wastewater plant. And so kind of who's doing what with us and has got the capacity or is familiar with our stuff. And so by having that exception for professional services, we don't have to go out, but we can based on the policy. So again, I can't answer any questions. This was emailed out to the Personnel, Finance, and Audit Committee for just general review and comment, and they said, we don't think we need to formally see it. We appreciate the work and effort you guys put into it. A few little questions, and then please move it on to the city council. So, here we are. I can answer any other questions you have.
Any questions for Greg? Otherwise, it's a resolution, so we ask someone to introduce the resolution when you are ready.
I'll introduce resolution.
Alright, the resolution has been introduced and is designated as resolution number 2025-3. Would anyone like to move that this resolution be passed and adopted?
So moved. Second.
A motion and a second, any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Franciscato, Kaler, Tanyas, Coltman, Miller, Singleton, Strice, and Morgan, 8-0.
Thank you. Next, we have item number 5, consideration to recommend Daniel Reichs of Walmart number 885-1326 280th as manager of retail Class D liquor license number 067015. Derek.
So when there's a change in the manager of the facility for a liquor license, I'm alerted from the state. So for this one, I just got pinged, and I followed up with them to ensure that we just need to get a council approval, just to say we're okay with that recommendation. As we do with these changes or consideration of changes, I had the police department run a background check to make sure there wasn't some kind of reason why we wouldn't recommend that person. Obviously, if they were doing bad stuff around the city, we might say, hey, we're not okay with this. But this person came back with a clean check and all that kind of stuff. So if approved tonight, I'll contact the state and just say we're okay with that change. And if any of the other ones down the road, whether it be Walmart or anywhere else, if there's change in manager, I'll get pinged in the same way. Bring it to council, get simple approval, and say we're okay with it or not okay with it.
Liquor Control Commission requires that you have managers that they know who the manager is. They want to be able to physically know who they need to talk to if there's an issue or be able to reach out to. And so that's the reason why we have this little extra step when it comes to liquor licensees. It's just to safeguard from the enforcement and regulatory standpoint that you can talk to someone if there's a problem. So, with that, any questions or comments for Derek?
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor, Franciscato, Kaler, Tanyas, Coltman, Miller, Singleton, Strice, and Morgan, 8-0.
Alright, item number 6, update on the Wellness Center. Welcome, Joel.
Good evening, everyone. Just like to give you just quick updates on some parts. Probably the biggest thing that is seen inside is the flooring is going in. The classrooms have carpet in them now. The floors in the hallways, the cement has had an epoxy finish put on them, so it's getting close to looking a little more professional. And this covers more areas, but next week furniture from Eeks will be delivered and installed, and that will be done easily throughout the week. So we'll have all of our classroom furniture, we'll have our office furniture, and then our tables in the different rooms there as well. So that goes along with the flooring being put in place. The gym is in place where it's going to be about 3 weeks, where they'll be finishing the floor, and the same with the studio. They'll be finishing it, sealing it, painting it, all the lines in the gym, and then putting the finish on it. So that is getting close in another month, and that will be complete. They'll be lining the track as well for the lanes, so that will finish out that area. Last week, all of the weight room equipment, the last delivery was there. They still need to rearrange some things, but all of that is in place. Right now in the studio and in the fitness area, mirrors are being put up. And so we can't have a weight room without mirrors and the studio. So that is all getting put up right now this week. Pool area, they have started tiling the base of that and the ends of the lanes. So they're making progress on that. Again, that's gonna be more of a long process yet. That will take into March, of course, not real long anymore, but compared to the rest of the building. Lockers were successfully placed in the hallway outside the fitness area and in the locker rooms. Those are in place, and they're putting finishes in those spaces as well. Plumbing fixtures will be put in, toilets, sinks, in the next week or so in those locker room areas. As we progress towards what I believe towards the end of February, a lot of those spaces will be to the punch list items area as we wait on the pool. So those things have been done inside. The exterior sign was put up last week, so as you're going by, you can see that now from on the exterior on the west side. So that looks really nice. We're happy with how that turned out. And those are just some areas that we're seeing continuous improvement. We are planning on doing a city employees open house. We're planning the first Wednesday in February. You all would be welcome as well. We're gonna just open it up from 4 to 5. I know that doesn't work for everybody. And if you'd like to get in there sometimes separately, we can certainly do that, but we are gonna open it up for all city employees from 4 to 5 on Wednesday, February 5th. I believe that's the 5th, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
I'll
And-
send an email to you all,
Yeah.
just so you have it out
I
there.
just wanted to put it on your radar that you're welcome to join that group. We will be at a place where I feel comfortable with larger groups being able to roam around there a little bit more with less and less construction items and hoses and different lifts to worry about. So that's gonna have to get city out there, and then we'll plan on a few more as we continue to go, a few more public ones with certain groups. But we're excited to show it off, and anytime we get people in there, there's been excitement, and so that's a very rewarding feeling. People are impressed. So it continues to go smooth, and haven't had any issues. So.
Did a good tour yesterday.
Yes, Seward changing the game. Board members were invited out yesterday, and they were allowed to invite some others along to be there. And so we had probably good 20-25 people in there that got to see it. And so again, some people that had seen it before that had now seen the changes, and so it was noticeable. Those that had been in there before. Some people had not been in there yet, so I was able to give them their first look at it and explain some of the areas.
Appreciated you showing my dad around so we had somebody to talk about at coffee this morning.
We don't need to give him anything to complain about.
No. He took pictures. He was super excited. Any questions for?
Yeah,
I was just gonna give an update. So with the establishment of these positions now, talked to Greg, talked to Joel, we're planning on putting an ad in the paper towards the front of the paper so people see it. Say, hey, we're hiring for the wellness center. So particularly for the, part-time positions, obviously we'll have a facility director one out there. So we're planning on putting in the paper a few times, big ad so they can see it. We get a good pool of people, no pun intended, but a pool of people to apply. We can pick some good people to join us out there. Probably review them at the end of February, and then have all of March to kind of get everything in place and in order, so we can be ready
facility director might be a little sooner than that. I'd like to have that person in place by the end of February so that then we can bring them in for trainings with Samson on a lot of the different areas, whether it be security, things like that in the building. So we want those people on right away. The other part-time don't have to be right away at the beginning of March, but we do want them soon afterwards, as we still feel good about an April 1st opening.
So spread the word if you know people are looking for something on the side to do.
Great people to work with.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments for Joel? Seeing none, thank you, Joel.
Thank you.
Next, we move on to city administrator's report.
Yes, kind of busy around City Hall again, even though we're out of the construction season. Right now, we're in the conversion and starting the finishing touches to convert our accounting system, payroll, and everything else to Cassell. 2 of our staff members are currently out in Utah this week, getting trained up on that new software system. Otherwise, in-house training is being done. We have so much training going on with this, we had to close City Hall for the morning. That was a planned thing, we announced it last week. So, very, very busy with the Cassell conversion. Probably go live in February, mid-February. So, bear with us if there's any headaches. There'll probably be something, but we'll keep working on with that. Let's see. Considerable work on some LB 840 applications that came in. We'll have a meeting tomorrow night, and so 2 council members will be there to work through that. Pretty good development last Friday and an opportunity for funding on our wastewater project. And so Mike, myself, and Brandon are going to continue to follow up with the state of Nebraska on an opportunity there, but significantly low interest rate potential there. So we'll follow up, make sure we know what all the nooks and crannies, timelines, and then integrate that through our potential rate study that we are actually finishing up right now, and to see what that cash flow looks like, and if there's the possibility that we'd be sitting in a fundable position with our current rates, or something very small on top of where we're at. And then if we are sitting there and everything looks correct to the rate study, we'll bring that back to you, because then we need to get going, because we've secured something that is viable. Let's see, just checking in with library staff. We had some staff shortages due to an ill family member in their passing, and so our hearts go out to our friends and family over at the library. Obviously, our wellness items that we had here. Continue to work on our rail campus projects, including Project Move in the dairy. And then the Civic Center is approaching being finished up. And so some of the major significant elements, obviously, the ramp, which is probably the most important piece of why we even undertook the ADA renovation, was installed. Very neat feature in regards to how they did the ceiling in there. And so I'm excited for you guys to see that when it opens. That's going to be tentatively around the March, April time, right about the same as the Wellness Center. But the main floor rooms on the upper side are essentially almost all done, getting in finishes, carpet, some of those elements. The fireplaces are in and activated. They're really neat electric fireplaces, very modern art gallery. Again, this was a place for us to feature local artists and Seward related art. You're really going to have a fine facility to do so. The basement with additional bathrooms throughout, but turning out really, really well. We like how this is kind of finished up, especially if we're trying to retro out a building of that age, mushed into a building built in the 70s. So, but that's going well, but it's just these closeouts and punch outs and things like that will be going on. And then obviously just undertaking some of our economic development site visits. Me and Jonathan continue to meet weekly to just go through everything that's going on in town. I can answer any questions you have. I'd have one more I wanted to note. The city was in receipt just at the end of last year of a significant gift. The Wake Family Trust, specifically Max and Elizabeth, donated half, and there's a reason for half, but half of the ground the current golf course sits on. If you remember when the city purchased the golf course, we purchased the assets and then specific elements of it. the course, like you actually play, was owned by the Wakes. They've made a decision to donate that to the city over time, and so the first half of that was donated last year. There's some plating and other things that need to go on the southern half of it, in relation to the old driving range. It's kind of on the south side of Country Club Drive. Make sure we follow up on any plans and wishes of them, but the city is very appreciative of their generous gift, and that's kudos to you, the mayor, Bob, Cody, Dan, and their operations of that facility out there. They've kind of proven that this incredible community asset can be run and operated by all of us together in a reasonable manner. And so with that, they said, let's just make it permanent and see where it takes us. And so I think the city is very, very appreciative of that. But we'll do something more formal once it's all completed, and kind of do a kickoff. And obviously we have some renovations and stuff going on out there, so maybe we can tie those all together. So very excited about that and very appreciative.
One more thing, there was an announcement today of retirement.
Oh yeah, another thing that happened at department head. Sorry, I have all these things that I can tell Derek, hey, you need to remind me of these ones. Also, you'll see and get an email on this, but when it hits, the news, Larry Ruther, our electric superintendent, announced today to his staff and to the department heads that he will be retiring February 14th after 49 years of service to the city of Seward. So we're gonna look for ways to celebrate and do that with Larry, but he wanted to wait till today to announce it. He was also on vacation, and then he had staff that was on vacation, so his timing was kind of overlapped, but we're putting together plans and working with Larry and obviously his family to celebrate him and maybe celebrate the electric department and a lot of their successes over a 49-year period. So we'll get you more details, but kudos to Larry and a well-deserved retirement. But we're excited for him, and we're excited to see what the future of the electric department is. There you go.
Any questions or comments for Greg? Otherwise, entertain a motion.
Move to accept. Second.
The motion and a second, please register your votes. Please display the votes.
Voting in favor of Francis, Scott, Kaler, Hines, Copeland, Miller, Singleton, Streisand, Morgan, 8-0.
All right, any future requests for council agenda items or administrative action? Seeing none. Jonathan, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor.
What's going on in Seward?
Oh, lots of great stuff.
Oh, great.
Okay, well, I will mention tonight, just because I mentioned this before, but I want to give a friendly reminder. We had a young professionals group that's standing back up in our community. They actually have a meeting tonight. Sorry for the overlap for those that are interested in participating. But I just want to encourage you to promote that. I think it's really important as we think about engaging our next generation of young professionals here within the community. That's a really important group that's getting started. Tomorrow, we have an ambassador call for a riveting